Today on Rat Cat, my recent encounters with coyotes, cougars, and Bigfoot. Welcome to Rat and Cat, where we search for those who've gone missing so others can learn how to survive. I'm Nakia. On some of my recent searches for missing people, actually my most recent search for a missing person, I've come across another Bigfoot print, much like I did looking for Austin Oldfield when I first started out. And it's very surprising to me, and I know a lot of people are interested in that. And I don't really know what to make of it other than there it is, and, you know, be aware of my surroundings. But, you know, there is something that, as far as wildlife, that concerns me a lot more than any Bigfoot. Just because we know of other animals that are more dangerous, and I've had recent encounters with them. On a day-to-day basis, several times a week, I have to come out here and chase out, or not during the day, but during the night, chase off coyotes from our property. Because they're after our goats, especially our male goat that's out in a pen that's a little ways from the house. The other night I woke up and I heard the coyotes yipping right out there, and I heard his fence rattling, and I'm like, oh no, they're right out there on there. So I went and got the flashlight, ran out there, and shone the flashlight out and saw him running away through the neighbor's horse pasture, and couldn't see my goat anywhere. And then I noticed he was off to my left, right beside the house. He had gotten out of his pen and was calmly chewing his cud beside the house. So I was really glad about that. And he's a smart little goat, and I've been impressed with him. And I'm really grateful that he didn't get eaten, and that we didn't have to deal with all of that. And the other thing that I had happen this week is that I had a cougar encounter, and that was in the evening. I was coming out here and going to bring in the goats, and my wife noticed the goats before I'd ever seen them because I was working on other chores, and she goes, they're looking off into the woods. There's something out there. And so I started paying attention to that, and our male goat was out here close to the house, and he was snorting and looking into the windows, and also all the horses and mules, the neighbors' horses and mules, were snorting and looking out into the woods. And the two females, which were back further away from the house in a little clearing, were really quiet, which every night, this time of night, they just bleat and call like bloody murder because they want to come in and get their oats for the evening. They were quiet, which was really unusual. So I just walked out there cautiously, looking around, and untied the goats and or unhooked them from their lines. I was standing about right here when I saw that cougar. It was about 15 feet, maybe less, behind me. And it was a medium-sized cougar, and it just kind of stared wide-eyed at me, just kept a constant fixed focus. Didn't seem shy or really aggressive, but it was sticking around. So I let those goats loose and just was cautious and kept my eye out behind me and kind of walked backwards as I left. My wife is freaked out about the kids being out now. You know, we've always tried to be careful out here anyhow because the cougars are always an issue, and just wildlife in general. We don't want to leave our kids out of sight. And in fact, in that very spot earlier that day when we put the goats out there, my 2.5-year-old was playing in that area, and I mean, we were all out there, and I was hooking up the goats, and then I started to come back to get one of the other lines, and I needed to get the male, and I was calling her, and she wasn't coming, and I'm like, I could just leave her there for a second. It would just be less than a minute, 30 seconds, for me to go get the other goat, and I'd just be out of line of sight for just a short time. And then, immediately I was like, no, that's just not smart. A little toddler like that could run off into the woods by themselves on accident. I don't think that she would, but it's a possibility. And there could be some sort of wildlife out there as well. And my neighbor John said, he actually earlier in the day he noticed one of the mules staring out over there, and he wasn't sure if it was the goats, but it seemed to be staring in a little different direction. So we think that it might have been kind of stalking the area for a while there. What's interesting to me, though, is that we're having more coyote encounters. We've never actually had them. I've never actually had them rattle on the fence like that, or like try to get into it. I've never seen a cougar nearby. I'm sure they're around, but we don't see them. We don't see the coyotes. I'm not sure if it's the extra high temperatures. It's been in the mid to upper 90s most every day, which is really unusual for July in this area. We don't have to turn on our air conditioning maybe once or twice before the end of August. But we've been running the AC almost every day. Anyhow, we're just keeping an eye out on wildlife, and cougars do attack. It's on a regular basis, but I'm not that afraid of them as long as I'm not leaving my kids out by themselves, as long as I'm taking appropriate precautions. And they do attack adults too. There was a recent killing here in Washington State, which is unfortunate. In May, I believe it was, where two mountain bikers were riding away from and ran into a cougar or something. Anyhow, one of it attacked it, and they did all the wrong things. One tried to run away. They both tried to run away eventually, I guess, but one was actually killed. Also, my neighbor's dog that I was taking care of was, what do you say? There was nothing left but a pool of blood stained in the grass, and some fur, and a trail of small bits into the forest. That was a couple years ago. So wildlife around the house is a real threat. And so now I'm trying to teach my kids what to do if they get attacked by an animal, or if they see a cougar around. Hopefully they never actually get attacked. So to make lots of noise, to look big, and for adults, you want to have a bear spray. It works on cats. I guess it's 99% effective. So that's a huge thing, and for somebody that's not trained with a firearm, or even somebody with a firearm, mace is going to be a lot less risk to you to an accidental shooting of somebody else, and it's a lot more effective than a firearm as well, because it's hard to get it out and aim properly. But if you're trained with a firearm, that's a good option. And then the other big thing is to fight back if a cougar attacks you, because they aren't used to their victims or their prey fighting back. And then again, just don't go out by yourself. It's a better idea not to go out by yourself in the wilderness, because a desperate animal will attack you, and there's nobody to yell for help.
I'm pretty sure that cat is out here again, because Stinky keeps on snorting here. And Mocha's up there. But she's being really quiet. Normally she will just call and call until I come unhook her.
It's kind of interesting that we're having these challenges with animals and these differences with wildlife. Initially, I named the channel Rat and Cat because I was focusing more on country living. And I hear a lot of people talk about country living in idealistic terms. It's pure life and pure living and stuff like that. And the fact is it's difficult. It's hard. There's give and take, and we got a rat, or we had a rat come into the barn, and to get rid of it, we got a cat, and then either coyotes or a bobcat or something, mountain lion got our cat, and so it's this. I don't know. It's kind of a yin and yang, or a balance, good and bad, and it's not perfect. And I think even as I'm searching out looking for these missing people that haven't been found, it just reminds me of how imperfect life is and how it's a struggle and things don't always work out how you think they're going to work out, and there's these mysteries in life. And that's one of the things I love about living in the country, and it's also one of the most difficult things. But I think it's just a key part of life where we face these struggles, and so there's both good and bad, and sometimes it's hard to face the difficult stuff, but it can be interesting too. What about you? What kind of animal encounters have you had? Have you ever had any risky encounters that you've been concerned with? And what did you do? I'd love to hear in the comments below. I also wanted to let you know about a video that I made last week. It was a live video talking about why I do rat and cat, my motivations. I was on vacation, and so I did it live, and my connection was really bad, so I ended up pulling it down. I know some of you saw that live, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in the link below. I'll probably redo it at some point when I have a better connection, or just pre-record it, but it's there if you want to watch it. Anyhow, like, subscribe, please support my channel on Patreon. And I just appreciate being part of this community, and always like to hear your feedback. So, till next time, this is Nakia on Rat and Cat.